Welcome to What's Your Story, where we, Jamie Marco,
and Stan Brown,
delve into the extraordinary lives of everyday people.
Listen in as we uncover the unique tales that shape who we are,
one story at a time.
Hey, let's get ready to explore today's story.
Let's do it. Hi, Dad.
We're back.
We are, and we're twinning.
Yes, I got the wear the white shirt memo this week. Psychically transmitted, of course.
Do you get other messages that I send you psychically?
Well, when you get something psychic, it's just kind of like a feeling. You don't really hear it, but you sense it.
Oh, so I was watching this video the other day about this game where they give people a chance and you say 1, 2, 3, go, and you say a word that's on your mind. Okay. And then you keep trying to go to see if you can actually get to the same word to see how you're speaking about. So I think we should try it real fast. What do you think? Does that make sense? You go 1, 2, 3, go. You just say any random word. And then once we both hear that word, we try and connect our words. We try and stay on those themes to try and connect to each other.
We really, for the benefit of our listeners, we should have practiced this.
No, you don't practice it. The whole point of it is how are you psychically in tune with one another?
Why not?
Okay, you ready? Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3, go.
Window.
Beach. Ooh, beach and window. Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
Ocean. Board.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, whiteboard.
Lunch.
1, 2, 3, public.
Car.
I mean, seriously, we're very disconnected. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Picture.
Stop. Oh my God, I can't do it with you. I'm not playing with you anymore.
Bad intro.
I'm not playing with you anymore.
And our next guest is.
So we're both in hats today too. We are like full on like jamming here.
It's beautiful outside, gorgeous day.
Yeah. You know, I wore this hat today, my Just Strong hat, because I feel like I have had quite a few couple weeks.
Okay.
And
you mean like you've been tested?
I have, yes. The whatever you want to call it is testing me to see if I break, if I scream, if I cry, if I melt down. And it's just life's like that. Yeah.
Just goes back to my premise. You can get a lot more done when you're relaxed than when you're stressed. Next, that'll be a session for us.
I know, but it's, you get emotionally hijacked and it's hard. Yeah. You get like where you're like, you want to scream from the rooftops. And, my situation is just, it's kind of, what do they say? When it rains, it pours.
Nice. Someone said it once.
Yeah. So it's
I also found out when they said rains cats and dogs, I found out where that came from.
Do you want to tell us all?
Folks out there, you want to know?
Yes, we do. Tell us.
Back in Victorian times, in England, of course, when it would rain severely hard, the drainage system was not that good. Water would just come overflowing. Okay. And unfortunately, when it rained really strong, the small cats and dogs would fall into the gutters and they would drown.
Oh, that's
so the
horrible.
term is when it's raining cats and dogs, don't go look outside. That's the etymology of words and phrases is fantastic. Really, sometime I'll tell you about blowing smoke.
Okay. Maybe a wrap up today.
Okay.
But I love that because it's true. It's like, in the book that I'm writing, it talks about the words that we use directly impact the results that we get.
No question.
And so the book comes out in January of 2026.
Is it really being called the Yellow Pages?
Very funny. But it's so true is that the power that we have of the words we use. And then I watched a video just recently about it's not only the words that we use, but even in written text, the way it had this one line and it was really interesting. So it was the one line and the line actually was written in different font. And it said the way that you read this font will be completely different the way that you read this based on the font will give you a different interpretation as well too. So not only is it in the spoken word, but in the written word that people interpret things differently based on all of that.
So punctuation is very important.
Oh yeah, like let them eat grandma or something. That was it.
It's two ways. Let's eat grandma or let's eat grandma.
Well, I'm excited to welcome in our guest today because I feel like our guest today will really start to kind of share with us a little bit more insight about what that means and the words that we think and why we think them and how they create, our mindset. So I have only met our guest through email. Okay. We've never met in person. So I'm excited to meet them.
Have you seen video?
No, I've seen her videos of stuff like that. Something she does.
So she could be an AI bot?
I mean, could anyone? Are you?
Stop hitting me. Oh, I've got bruised skin now.
We should do like a swapped head thing because we're both wearing white shirts. Mine is not as look, we're both V-necks.
Yours came from that commercial with the wrinkled neck.
Shut up. Here we go. Let's let her in.
What's her name?
It's LaVonna.
LaVonna.
And her tagline is ignite your shine. So, I mean, we don't always want to talk about that. We want to see like where did that come from for her. So let's let her in. Here we go. She's probably nice and jazzed up. We're like very super cash and like dressed down, but she is just absolutely spectacular. So wait, see, look at see.
Oh, LaVonna, hello.
Hello, hello.
So okay, I was just saying that we've never actually had a full-on conversation, but we've emailed, and I was just we dressed as twins today.
I see that. I did not get the memo. Next time.
Yeah, I should have said it is. So for me, it is the day before vacation. I'm going on vacation tomorrow, so I'm like doing all of the things to try and like grasp life together before I leave. And for him, it's just retirement
Every
day
day is vacation, LaVonna. Fantastic.
As it should be, Stan, as it should be. Where are you headed, Jamie?
I am headed out to Arizona to an incredible spa called Savannah. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No.
I discovered it last year, actually, and it is an amazing spa yoga resort, which I will literally tell everyone about it because I went last year. It was so amazing. My first time ever going to a place like that.
Yes.
This year I'm going back, and I will go back every year because it's just that much of an incredible experience.
Can I meet the same expectation this year?
My friend just got back, and she came back with a rave.
Yeah, but that was her first experience.
Yes, but I mean, it's literally spa, yoga, and relaxation in the mountains of Arizona, in the desert. So, in a place called Carefree. Literally, it's called Carefree, the city.
LaVonna, wheels up at 9:30.
Well, hey, wait, are you? I know we're similar airports. Are you flying out of my airport or yours?
No, we're flying out of local down here because we found a flight that was just it's easier sometimes just to get there and just go. So yeah,
I'm asking because I'm flying out tomorrow morning for Denver.
Oh yeah. No way! Oh,
and it's mostly vacation.
Flight was there. Oh my god, I would have missed you for vacation as well.
Yeah, for the most part, yes.
Oh, so nice! Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Well, we'll both be at Wheels Up, so I love it.
Yes. Yes.
So we're going to start how we typically start outside of this chitter chatter on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being it's the best day you've ever had. You don't have a worry in the world, like nothing to even think about, which is really rare because who doesn't have a worry? Yeah. To a 1 being that you probably should not be peopling. And yes, I have stolen that from someone else and made that a verb. Perfect. What do you remember today?
I'm going to say a 7.5.
Ooh, I like it. All right. So here's my next follow-up question.
What will it be tomorrow? 9.2.
And 9.5.
Wow. What would it take today to have you go from a 7.5 to a 7.75?
Probably just a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Just a different way of looking at something that I'm stressing about instead of just continuing. Like I've learned that about me a lot, that when I start to get stressed, I have to pull myself back emotionally and just say, okay, but what are the facts of this? And what could be a little bit different of a shift? And so I think that's all it would take. It's just
so you create a slightly more relaxed state of mind to analyze the current distressed state of mind.
We were just talking about this.
Well, the fallacy, the country Americans believe they do better under stress when really it's just the antithesis, but they've been taught. And you can be under stress just for a limited period of time with the cortisone and the adrenaline. You can't do that forever, but relax, you can do indefinitely and see and feel everything.
Yeah, but I don't think it's just Americans. I think it's universal.
Well, I'm speaking within our boundaries.
Oh, okay. But we were just talking about this because I'm wearing a hat that says just strong. And I was saying this week I was tried by a lot of different things that happened. And it was just like trying to hold it together and have that mindset shift to like be in the calm, but that's hard. And so we want to know, and listen, I kind of know what you do now, but we'd love to go back and say, okay, tell us like your journey of how did you get to where you are now? Like where does all this positive, incredible, shining energy that you have now start?
Where was LaVonna's breakout moment?
Well, so a lot of times it comes with frustration, failure, you name it, where the shifts actually lie, which are amazing because I feel like it's all ways that have led me to where I am today. So Jamie, to answer your part, was I was originally a teacher. And so I taught for 10 years, 5 in Ohio, 5 in Florida, anywhere from 2nd through 8th grade. and absolutely loved. I thought I'd always be a teacher, and then I had an opportunity to look at administration. And as a single mom at the time, that was really the only way I could get more money to support.
Yeah.
And so I was getting ready to become an assistant principal, and someone gave me an opportunity to step out, which led to me becoming a salesperson for a university, which then 8 months later, 9 months later, became regional manager of the Southeast for business
What a
development.
hectic year. Whoa.
Wow.
Yes, yes. It was a total shift. I mean, teaching, you're in your silo. This is what you do every day. Bathroom, yeah, at the end of the day, maybe at lunch, to this entire shift of working with people and what are their ideas and develop like business development. I was totally out of my wheelhouse. Like I had no clue to what I was doing, but apparently they thought I did. So, it was one of those, like, even when I went into sales, I was ranked number one or number two in our national level for our university every month, which again, no sales background. And as a matter of fact, I hated that word. So fast forward through multiple opportunities, that one thing led to another, and I worked for multiple companies, one of which I was cussed out, screamed at, and then hugged and said, God put it in our life for a reason. We're so blessed to have you. And I'm like, you just cussed me out.
Like an
And I
abusive relationship, like the literal definition of it.
Yes, yes, like total toxicity. And I learned later that I was the eighth person in 10 months in that position. All the part-timers had a bet on how long I would last. And it was the 4 month mark that I came home to my husband. I said, I can't do this anymore. I am not a crier like this, and I feel like I'm crying every day. I don't deserve to be treated this way. Nobody does. And I said, I'm jumping. And that's when I started my own company. That was in 2008. And it's been through multiple reiterations, like going back to Stan, what you're saying, like those pivotal moments of where did things shift and shuffle. And it had a lot to do with whether it was a marketing thing that happened, a political thing that happened, a pandemic, just trying to stay afloat and figure out how to make this work. And
What's funny
yeah,
is oftentimes other people see more of the potential in you than you see the potential in you. And if they see that, it's real, it's valid.
Yeah.
That's the objectivity, subjectivity deal.
Yeah.
I'm objective about you, but you're subjective about you. It's a whole different perspective.
Did you grow up in Ohio?
I did. I
Okay.
did. I was there
And
almost 30 years.
what made you get into teaching to start with? I'm
Oh,
gonna take a step back and then we're gonna go forward. But like what made you like I always like to talk about that. This time of year right now, teachers are like gearing down, right? They're like, oh,
yes.
2 weeks left. Like,
Countdown.
I mean, this is airing a little bit later, but that's okay. I just totally ruined when this is airing. But anyway, but so the thing is that like that towards the end of the year, different, but to getting into teaching, I always feel like healthcare and education are the most underpaid, underappreciated roles you can possibly have. So everybody gets into it for a reason. Like, why did you start off being a teacher?
Yes. I feel you're making me realize that most of my life has been unplanned.
Oh,
So, because when you asked that, I went, that was totally by mistake, just like getting into business, getting into speaking, all not by mistake, but all unplanned. So,
oh,
I actually went to college and started in psychology, which is the foundation of a lot of what I do now. But when I went in for psychology, my first semester, I got a GPA of a 1.2. So,
wow.
I was put on academic probation to be kicked out.
Where were you in
And
school? Where'd you go to school?
I went to Kent State.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the golden flashes. So it was prior to that, my middle school grades had been declining. High school, my report card would show D's and F's. I don't even know how. Thankfully, Kent State accepted me. But that 1.2 hit, and I thought, well, here we are. You already have this belief about you that you're not good enough. Well, you're also not smart enough, and here's more proof to that. And I ended up saying, fine, if you're gonna kick me out, I have one more semester, and I'd always wanted to learn sign language. So I pulled the university catalog because that's how old I am. I've had to physically pull that catalog. And I went in to look up sign language, and you could take sign language, but you had to go into education.
Hmm.
So I learned to sign. I became a teacher for the deaf. And that is when the fire, like my GPA completely around. And that's when I went, oh my goodness, this is more of where you're
Found
supposed
it.
to be.
Sure.
Why sign language? Why was that something that was important to you?
That's a great question. I don't get asked much. So I worked at McDonald's in high school, and we would have this gentleman who would come in who was deaf, and we would have to get out the menu cards of pictures, and he would point to what he wanted. But even when he pointed to a fry, at the time, there wasn't like a small, medium, large for the fries. It was just a picture of the fries. So he would have to like model with his hands, small, medium, large. And I remember thinking, what a lonely world. Like when you're out in the hearing community and you can't communicate, like this is not okay. Then when I was working a job in college, there was a deaf couple who came in and we're trying to communicate what they wanted to buy, and we're having to write everything out. And again, I just remember this is just wrong. Like, why don't we learn to communicate this way? And so that's what intrigued me with sign language. And what I didn't anticipate was when I went into teaching, that even though I didn't actually use the degree of teaching the deaf, had also had regular ed certification, that I incorporate sign language into what I did, because the concepts of what you learn, like for example, a simple one, flag looks like, and I know not everybody can see that, but if you think of a post and a flag waving, that's what one of your hands is doing. The arm is the foundation, like the ground. So flag really captured the concept. The ultimate turning point, though, was when I was teaching eighth grade social studies. And I said to my students, I said, we say the pledge every single day. What does it mean? And they couldn't tell me. So I started doing sign language, like I promise as I pledge. Allegiance means is the same thing as supporting.
Yeah.
And so they began to learn some sign through this, but also how the meaning was captured with what they were trying to understand. So I'm like, it doesn't have to be sign language, but a gesture is going to help hone in on the meaning of
Hmm.
words you're trying to remember.
That's
Sidebar:
incredible.
how, who, and when was sign language developed?
I don't actually remember the answer to that, Stan. AI help?
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I will get right
Well,
back to you.
I think
Yes, thank you, Stan.
that's incredible.
I'm gonna have to learn it. But I will say sign language though is not universal. So like when I was doing student teaching, we
Ah,
had a student come from Russia. And so we would get out cards. For example, we would teach him dog. Well, what he signed for peach was dog in Russian sign language.
Crazy.
interesting. I didn't know that.
Yes.
It's so I like probably like 6 months ago, I was playing pickleball at a league and a woman came on and she was deaf. And it was so incredible because we were trying to communicate with her. But I remembered when I was in third grade, I mentioned this in another podcast, I learned how to sign my name. And so we were doing that and we were like signing with that. And then I knew from teaching my daughter how to say thank you when she was a baby, thank you and things like that that I learned. And I was like, I wish I knew more. And she was just so appreciative of just even those little micro moves of just, my name is, and I signed my name. And she was just so appreciative. And I think that it's just like that moment. So I can't even imagine how you must have felt once you could actually communicate. Oh my gosh, what an incredible story. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm
Yes.
curious, you said that when you were in high school, you were, an F and a D student, and then you became a teacher. So you know what was causing you to have those grades be where they were. When you became a teacher, what did you do differently? Because obviously you were probably exposed to students, from second to eighth grade who are experiencing maybe similar things that I don't know your story there, but how did that change the way that you taught, knowing the type of student that you were?
Oh, my heart went completely to students who did not fit into what I call the box of education. We think about the box, our students show up and they are really put into that box of reading, writing, math, and science. And those are the core subjects that we really put heavy focus on. What's interesting in the United States is we take it a step further, that you are only gifted if you are gifted in math and science. And so I knew at the time that even though I didn't feel smart and there was times I hated the academic side of things, I didn't want to perform in school because of it, it also made me realize, but I do have some value. Now,
Mhm.
that wasn't solidified until later, that I began to realize, which is a key piece of why Shine is what it is, where we focus on your strengths, gifts, skills, and talents, and why we also say now every person is gifted. The question is how. Because whether we're talking to students, we're talking to adults, it doesn't matter. We all went through an education system. And please know this is not a bash of our education system, but I do believe there are very strong key pieces that need to be changed.
Opportunity.
So, right. So I think back on my students who are really struggling, and I had such a heart for them because I approached teaching in the way that I also learned, on top of other ways that we do automatically learn how to teach. So I learned to incorporate like the sign language or gestures into this. Let's tack on music. What about art? Can you show me visually through how you learned, or show me a concept in that way? And that's because I realize I am very bodily kinesthetic. So I learn by moving, I learn by showing you. It's obvious if you ever watch me speak, like I'm very, interactive, hands-on. It's the way I taught also, but it's reaching those students who often aren't successful in typical subjects, is because it provides them a different outlet from read the chapters, answer the questions, or what content can you spit back to me that you read and can remember, and it's often referred to as book smart.
Regurgitate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's not just book smart, it's
Yeah.
what are all those other ways, so it's
Well,
pulling in
it doesn't take into account the people are multifaceted. You've got to find which facet kind of lights up for them.
Yeah.
No question.
Are you
yes.
the only child or do you have siblings?
I was an only child until I was 8, and then I have a brother who's 13 years younger and a sister who's 11.
Got it. Okay.
You're a mama then.
And so,
I was the babysitter. I was the live-in babysitter. Yes.
so how did, I'm wondering, like, as you're going through that, like coming from a parent perspective, how were your parents helping you learn in school at that time to get you through? That's a lot. That's a lot of emotional impact on, first of all, if you're middle school, I don't know how you ever taught sixth through eighth grade, because I feel like middle school is a total just like crapshoot. Like emotions are off the charts, the hormones are terrible. Everyone hates their
Yes.
parents, everyone hate like it's horrible. And I remember that myself. I hated middle school and then high school. And then at the top of that, you're not doing well in school. So how did you navigate? And then we'll get to what you're doing now, but how did you navigate doing all of that and emotionally supporting yourself and your mindset? And how did your parents help support that? Or maybe they were there and weren't there?
Yes. So supporting me, I became more involved in any club that I possibly could where I did feel success. So it was whether it's pep club, for example, French club, you
Mhm.
name it, I was in a club, but I also found other ways such as music. So I played the flute, I played the piccolo, I became the field commander, or also known as the drum major, majorette of, not majorette, but drum major of a marching band, of the pep band. And so I found other outlets. So the interesting factor too is that grew up in, and I actually never talk about this, so here we go. I grew up in a religion that I was not permitted to wear pants, for example. Everything had to be a skirt. So even when I joined marching band, a pep band, I had to have uniforms specifically made. So not only did I have the academic piece, but there's a whole social piece where I did not fit in or
Yeah.
feel like I fit in. So I felt like I was always trying to find my group. And but be part of that was I also talked to everybody. So crazy, weird. And again, I don't know why I'm sharing this, but let's go. I got homecoming queen, and I remember being shocked. Like I'm talking shocked because never in a million years I expect to ever be on the court. I wasn't popular, but then I definitely had to be homecoming queen. And when I later on talked to people, they said, you know why we voted for you is because you were always kind to us. You always spoke to us. And I
Oh,
think that goes back to how I grew up physically, like grew up in a home with my parents' religion, but then also within the academic failure side.
yeah.
And so, yeah, this is you're like doing a lot of like deep work here, right? It's interesting to
What
think and reflect on these
religion, do you mind
connections.
sharing what religion that is? What religion?
There is actually no name to it unless you're in the religion. There's an internal name for it. People often ask me, like, what is it related to? The closest I can get you is if you know what Mennonite is, that's the closest I can get you. If you don't know Mennonite, then Amish is the
Yeah, we
next
know both.
closest.
Yep, I know both. Yeah, and actually, where we live, there's a very large community of Mennonite and Amish here as
Mm,
well. That's so. So I mean, wow. So you're navigating. That's a lot to navigate, and at that age, some kids can't handle that. So what help? You join all these clubs. Do you speak French fluently as well too?
no. I'm
Okay.
studying on Duolingo, but no, 4 years there. I don't know what I learned.
It's so funny. I took Spanish in high school and it was very much textbook Spanish. And then after college, I worked on a cruise ship and I was trying to use the Spanish that I learned in high school working in Puerto Rico. And they're like looking at me like, what is wrong with you? You are not even speaking Spanish. Like that is not even, I learned more from being immersed in the culture than and obviously I understand that different dialects are different in Spain and in Mexico and Puerto Rico, and Cuba and Colombia. But it was just, I remember being like, well, that's my textbook. I got all, I did that.
What's really fascinating is during those years, you were almost constantly in an internal crisis, but you didn't cave. You found other ways to cope outside that. So it wasn't a give up situation. You just explored. And
Yeah.
something drove you inside. A lot of people just give up, and that crisis goes into a very, very dark place.
Stan, it's interesting that we bring that up because something I've been captivated more recently is why. Why is that? Like I grew up with a single mom for 8 years, never knew my biological dad, never will. I learned that he has passed on because the first time I ever saw his picture was about 2 years ago, and it was his obituary picture.
Oh my God.
So there's this whole side, like backstory of me and how I've grown up and how I've lived, and just the self-doubt. But why, when you hand all of that, like you said, internal crisis, trauma, whatever you want to add to it, why did I choose to use that as a fighter and to survive versus other people turn to addiction or other habits? And I wish I knew the answer. The only thing I can partly think of and may contribute to it is, despite everything I've shared, and there's so much more, my mom is a very strong woman, right? Like she is made the choice to keep me. And so she is still like, no matter what, she's a very strong woman. My grandma, a very strong woman. My aunt, my mom's
Your
sister,
role models,
very
absolutely.
strong woman. Yes. And so I don't know if all of that played a part into this. I'm sure it did some, but I don't know. I've always wanted to see research on why, what causes, are there certain, is it nature, is it nurture, is it both? I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's so interesting that we have a guest that's coming on in a few weeks, and um it kind of a similar story, but like you said, went down a path where tried to stay as strong as possible because she didn't want to turn to the addiction of the other people were turning to. And I think that it's so incredible because I always talk about, people look at you now, right? You look at, like, go to your website, we look at you now, and like it's like, oh my gosh, like outstanding, like incredible, but no one really knows the story behind what it took you to get to where you are today. And even that journey of going to college and figuring out sign language and then turning that around and then becoming a teacher, I think it's incredible that you're able to do that and change that. I think that's amazing. And
Well, that's with the old show with Paul Harvey. The rest of the story, they see you at the finish line now. They don't see the stuff that got you here.
yeah,
So when you started your own company in what year?
2008.
Okay, so it's been a while.
but you said though, when you first started being a teacher, were you a single mom at that time, or did that happen throughout the process?
That's throughout the process.
Oh,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah. So, I think it was 2003 that I became a single mom,
Do you have
around
many
then.
children?
No, probably 2002. I'm sorry, say again.
How many children?
I have one. I have one biological, and then I have two bonus kids now. I don't like the word step
It's kind of
kids.
strange. You look back on your success and you wonder yourself, how did I get here? I think ask yourself that question. You've been through so much stuff, but something was driving you, no question about it.
Yes,
And
yes.
you look so your eyes are, you look so clear, you look so happy, you look successful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Now I'm just gonna come on here more often to feel better, but
Anytime,
but
We're
anytime.
that
setting up a 900 number.
but that'll work. But that drive is fascinating because I don't, in my head, I know I have accomplished things, and I will never downplay that. But when you start saying back to me, I'm like, holy cow, like it has been all this, because in my head it's, I'm not where I yet want to be. Like there's not the accomplishment of the things that I want to accomplish. Don't know if I ever will, but that's okay. I still see all these things that I want to do and have happen. So I appreciate the reflection back for a moment, because I preach about, revisiting those things and celebrating those things, but it doesn't mean I always take the time to do it either.
Yeah, I
But
think
you're
it's
not one that
important.
lives in the past. You're going to the future always. That's been a personality.
Well, I do have to touch back a little bit before we get to where we are now. But so, you had said that you were raised by your mom, by single mom, and then you have a moment in your life where that happened to you as well too.
Yes.
So how did you now? Because that's also another traumatic moment. Sometimes you don't have to. You can share whatever you want with us, but then that's like, wait a second, that's a shift again. That's
Yeah.
like, all right, here we go. We got to go again. How did you navigate that at that moment in time as well too, knowing that you were a teacher, teacher salary, which we were just saying, they're horrific. But how did you navigate that to get you back on track at that moment as well?
Yeah, I definitely felt like a failure. I'll say that. Um, because it had been ingrained in me so much that, when you get married, you stay married. And there's a whole, obviously, religious background to that. And I'm a believer that, not that you throw anything to the wind and just give up on anything, but I'm a believer that you also don't stay in something just because society or religious beliefs say that you do. And so I had to come to terms with that. But that was one of the hardest things to say to family, to friends. Like my friends will tell you, I actually started disengaging from them. And they'll say that I disappeared for about a year. And I did, because all I kept thinking was the shame behind getting divorced and having let something fail. And I have a daughter. I'm doing this to my daughter, and not really realizing that I was also doing it for her, which she's 25 now, and she will say, like, Mom, I know you made the best decision that you could make in that moment, and she has some insight now where she's like, I understand why, and so it was very hard, but I had to really realize and look at myself to say, where was I heading if I stayed in this relationship versus where it could go, and also for him. And so I just remember going to counseling, and the counselor said to me, most powerful words, so this helps anybody. They said, if this were your daughter in these shoes, what would you tell her to do? And before I could even say, like, even think, the words came out of my mouth. And so I knew in that moment what my decision was. And so I feel like we do get one life. And so how do we want that life to be? And is it staying in something that, even if the other person happened to want it, that was not the scenario here, but if the other person wanted it, I'm going to stay in that and make them feel like they also have to stay in it. Like, that just wasn't, and I look at that from a business perspective too. Like, I view things like, if we're a great fit, great. And if we're not, totally fine too. This is a two-way street. So I don't know that I actually answered your question, Jamie, but let me know if I didn't.
How old was your daughter at the time of that?
She went about 2.5, 3 when we started to go through the divorce.
Yeah, so that's young, and it's kind of, yeah, and then you navigate being, a single mom,
Yes.
Having
raising
kids
her.
can kill you. It's a big job.
Well, and only children, like, I have an only child, and I feel like, I think having children, yes, is difficult no matter what. And everyone will be like, well, having three is difficult. I'm like, but having one sometimes difficult too, because you're like their best friend, their playmate, everything like that. And it's
Yes.
also very rewarding, And so now, I think it's so cool that you have demonstrated for her the path that you've navigated. So you were a teacher, you then went into the administration side of it, and then you got into the business side of it. And then you were there and you're like, that's it. I'm going to start my own business. So tell us about, how that all, like, how did you formulate, this is what I'm going to do now? How did that happen?
It was opportunities that came to me. Um, like, Stan started this podcast interview really about, like, somebody that believes in us, before we realize our potential and such. And that's exactly what happened. So when I was a teacher, I had a mentor of mine who I really looked up to her. She was supervisor of the social studies department for the school district I was teaching in. And she said, we want you to train for us. And I was like, oh, heck no. Like, in my head, there's absolutely no way I'm speaking in front of adults. And I couldn't turn her down though, because I admired her so much. And I said, okay, I will. Well, the first training I got great feedback from, and then it just kept continuing. And she asked me to continue speaking and training for the social studies department. And so then by the time that I end up going to the sales aspect and then the business development, I reflected back and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at this whole path that at the time I didn't realize was happening, but I was gaining all of this knowledge and insight that then led to the business part of, owning my own business. And so it, I never intended, like, really to become a teacher, but by going into sign language, I became a teacher. I never intended to go into sales or business development, but I had someone who would come to me and said, I think you'd be great at the sales position. And I was like, oh, heck no. Again, like, nope. And then I learned that if I became an administrator in our district and I stepped out, the word at that time was that I could come back as a teacher if I decided to come back, but I would not come back as an administrator. I would be blacklisted. So
Oh,
I thought, well, then here we go. Let me try the sales. And so every single thing that I look back on was never intentional. Like, owning the business was never intentional. Now I know with Ignite Your Shine, it is my heart, it is my soul, it's my belief. I think it's my purpose as to why I'm here. And speaking on a stage now, like in front of people, I do that for a living, and I love, love, love it. But I realized the shift that I had to make was, it's not about me speaking on the stage. As a matter of fact, I often ask to not be introduced. It's about the message that I'm sharing. And so if I know that I'm tapping into that, the impact and making a difference, because people say that to me, our NPS says that, like, which is Net Promoter Score for anybody who doesn't know, like, it tells us that information. And so I truly feel like I am where I'm meant to be, but never intentionally.
you are
She,
like my spirit animal. I love it.
my, I'm a big
That's why we need to get together, Jamie. We need to get
I know,
together. We don't live that far apart.
yes, 100%.
I'm a huge proponent of low goal setting, but you set a new well, you are no goal setting.
To a fault, Stan, to a fault.
Hey, another book.
Yeah. Co-author that. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So cool. Tell us a little bit about, okay, so Ignite Your Shine. Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about like what that purpose is. Like you said, it's not about, I love how you're like, I don't like to be introduced. I'm the same way. I'm like, I don't need it. Like, don't introduce me. Like, I don't, it's not about me. It's about the message. I love that. It's so huge.
Well, what was the mission when you started?
Oh, so it was actually just to do anything except
I
except
mean, did you shine shoes? Did you shine cars?
yeah, no, it was that sales piece. So just stepping into that where I was just like, okay, let's try something new because I'm gonna try something new. This came along, let's go for it. It was never, yeah, I like the no
You don't
bull.
mind winging it. You'll jump in. It's like it's improvisational stuff. You don't need a script.
Yes. You know what? I appreciated Sarah Blakely so much for this, founder of Spanx, because I was at an NPR event for Guy Raz out in San Francisco at his summit. And I think it was his first guest was Sarah Blakely came out and they recorded the podcast on the stage, but we were a live audience for it. And I remember him saying, and I won't remember her exact words, but the gist of it was he had said to her, "How are you so fearless?" And she made the comment, again, I'm paraphrasing, but made the comment, she goes, "Oh, I am not fearless. I have fear every single day in all I do." And I remember thinking, yes, yes, like that's exactly my belief. Like I don't like the word fearless. I never have. And she nailed exactly why. And so again, I'm willing to try things like here, right here, I have a quote, Simone Biles, it's right on my desk here, and it says, "I'd rather regret the risks that didn't work out than the chances I didn't take at all."
Love that. And she
And
did, girl, yeah.
Living
yes.
proof.
I wonder though, I'm like a huge Sarah Blakely fan. I think she's just incredible. I wonder if you went back to her when she was in her apartment with all those boxes. Like, does that come with time, right? Like, if she would have been like, "Oh, I'm not," because she wasn't fearless. Like, if I look at her, you don't think she was fearless. She was going door to door out, And so I wonder if that perspective changes hindsight,
Mm. Mm.
like thinking about like when you're in it, like if you, and maybe, I don't know, we'd have to ask Sarah. I would love to meet her. I've never met her. I'd love to meet her.
Same.
So maybe we'll just tag her in this when it's posted.
Yes. Let's do it. Let's do it. Come on,
Yeah,
Sarah.
yeah, we will hear you, Sarah. But I think it's interesting because as we're in similar paths, right? As women entrepreneurs who own our own businesses, or speaking businesses, and I just had the post that's going out about this is that people look at you and they say, "Oh, wow, you're doing all these things," but we're literally working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week because we're not getting paid unless we're on stages or in classrooms. And a lot of our work happens in front of our computers, writing content and delivering things and developing stuff, but we don't get paid unless we're actually delivering. And so there is fear there for sure. There's 100% fear.
Yes.
So, it's interesting. How have you, like, so you've in 2008, I don't do math in public, but that's how many years now?
More than 10.
We just hit our 17-year anniversary, so that's how I know the math.
Amazing. Congratulations. I definitely
Thank
not do
you.
math in public. So over the last 17 years, running your own business, what would you say would be some of your biggest lessons navigating that fear?
Uh, yeah, going for it is one. Not letting the fear stop you or the unknown, but I don't know how, but I have to figure this out first. Just get in there. As you hit it, Jamie, when you said that you took Spanish lessons, right? So how to speak Spanish. However, it wasn't until you were immersed in it did you actually learn. And I'm finding the same thing, so I have these ideas of things that I want to do. And in the past, I felt like or I may feel like I had to have every duck in a row, or I had to know A, B, C, D of how to do this. And I don't anymore. I just need A. And once I get into A, I need to figure out B. But I'm also one of the lessons is that I'm okay abandoning ship. Like if something doesn't make sense and it doesn't feel right, I'm okay saying, nope, we need to rework this or we need to shift it. We can walk away from it. It doesn't matter. But that goes back to the hindsight you also talked about, Jamie, that, the hindsight of recognizing I have truly learned to trust my intuition. I can't tell you the number of times that I did not listen to it because I was like, no, this is a phenomenal
Never
opportunity.
lies to you. Never lies.
Mhm.
No, agree. So, just jumping into it and going for it, listening to your intuition. I also, another lesson is finding the right group, which has taken years and years and years, but the right group where I can be honest and open in front of saying, business really is hard right now. I need help, you know, or I have this massive celebration. I need to tell someone. And that group that cares about both, they're not judgmental. It's confidential. They're there for you. They're lows to support you, and they're there to celebrate the highs with you. And those people have become so valuable to me, and they're the constant cheerleaders. Like, I just believe in cheering someone on like this. I just, right before this, I had a call with another woman who's just starting into entrepreneurship, and she's very, very similar to what I do. But I don't sit there and go, I'm not sharing anything with you because you're too similar. What if? No. Let's uplift, let's teach, let's share those lessons. So that's the other lesson that I've learned is that, the voices that have said compete, compete, compete. No, I don't need to listen to those voices. Those actually voices don't fit my moral compass or my values.
So
Yeah.
being outside your scope, tell me what you do. Who do you speak to? Do you train? Tell me what you do.
Yeah, so I mostly do keynote speaking, and it's our website is geared toward women in leadership, but that's one of the hardest things for me when it comes to marketing because I have military, police, insurance companies, financial advisors, teachers, superintendents, you name it, coming up and saying, I needed this. Like, how come you're only geared toward women? I'm like, we're not technically, but from a marketing perspective, we are. So it's really it's audiences who need that belief, like I needed that belief of someone to believe in them, but to really draw out what are you good at doing and what are your passions instead of the fallacy of you have to be great at all of it. Compare yourself to everybody and try to be like everybody because that's you need to be so well rounded. No,
Not true.
right? So shine is really the S and the H are about drawing out those things and creating as much as you can. So I'll say like an 80-20-ish rule there on are you living in that space as much as possible? Like Jamie, you keynote, you go out and speak. So I have a feeling that's probably also where you come alive. But then there's the part that you talked about too. Like you may like writing content. I don't know the answer to that, but there's still tasks that you don't like. Stan, there's still tasks you don't like. Listeners, there's tasks you don't like. So there's still going to be that 20% ish rule
Sure.
of things that it's the reality. It is. But so many people are in a career or living in a space, personally and professionally, where they're not living in that 80% part of what is it that you really do enjoy and are you putting that in? And I
Yeah.
think those pieces are so critical.
What does the acronym SHINE stand for?
So S is self, and we focus on strengths, gifts, skills, talents. We focus on mindset. We focus on who you are, who you want to be, uh, even your like mindset about how you're thinking about things. H is heart. It's the word for passion. It just passion would have spelled ignite your spine, and that wouldn't have worked as well, right? So H is heart. It's about passions, what lights you up, gives you the energy, and also what drains you. I and shine is inspire because you have this beautiful package of S and H about you, but life is going to throw curveballs. So how do you stay inspired? How do you inspire others? And is navigate, meaning what are you going to do with everything I just talked about? So it's you putting it into action. So if it's you creating a human focused culture with a team within an organization, it's you as a leader trying to figure out, how do I put who I want to be in my style in as a leader? It's everything and anything personally and professionally. It's navigate is the meat, it's the go for it. E and shine is exceptional because you're becoming the exceptional person you were meant to be, exceptional leader, family member, colleague, you name it, exceptional person you were meant to be, not anybody else.
Are
I
you a
love that.
one-woman show or you have other speakers on your payroll?
I do have one other speaker who she is, everybody's independent, but she's independent and goes out and does some speaking also. And then I have a team behind me that I could not in a million years do this if it weren't for them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's interesting. I mean, like, here's a perfect example. We do almost the exact same thing, right? We're both speakers. We both speak about empowerment. We both speak to audiences about finding it's just different languages, different packaging.
Yep.
And someone said to me, well, why would you have someone like that on your podcast? Aren't you promoting their work? I'm like, yeah, I am. And what's the problem with that? Because that's the thing is that, they talk about in marketing, you have to hear something at least 7 different ways for it to actually to make you make a decision and to change your thought process.
Yes.
So if they hear it from me and they hear it from you and then they hear it from Lisa and then they hear it from Rachel, whoever, all these, they hear it from Simone, all
It's
these different
repetitive, sure.
people, then they're
Yep.
hearing it. And there's nothing, why would I not want to do that? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, why would I not want more people to hear a message about you don't have to live in the 20% and be miserable. There are
Right.
ways to find that. I do an activity a lot in my classes, and it's this whole conversation stack thing that I learned from somebody else based off of a Dale Carnegie technique. But one of the questions throughout it is, what are you passionate about?
Hmm.
That you said there, that inspire, what are you passionate? And I can't tell you more often than not, people don't know. they don't know. They're like, Jamie, I don't know what I'm passionate about. And it's just, and that in that moment, there's this like big aha light bulb that goes off. So how do you help people navigate that? Because some people might be listening and saying, I don't know how to connect, or how do they connect their passion to a job, right? Like, listen, they could have a 9 to 5 job where it's data entry. Maybe you're passionate about that. Maybe, no offense. That's just not my jam. I hate data entry, I hate all of that. My accountant hates me. It's like, where's your P&L? I'm like, can you just do it for me? Like, I hate all that stuff. But the thing here is that, like, how do you connect that, right? Because people get so stuck and no, I'm an accountant, or no, I'm a lawyer, or no, I'm a grocery bagger, or no, I'm a housekeeper, or no, but they never realize, like, what are you passionate, like, find that. And sometimes you can't work in what you're passionate in, but tell
Right.
us a little bit like how you connect those two together.
Right. So if okay, I would like to back up to a comment you made about why would you have someone like me, on when technically someone might say it's competition. But to me it's not, because like your market is going to be different than my market. Plus what you said with the way you say things and package things versus me. There are going to be people who like my presentation style and don't like yours, or they like yours, don't like
What?
me.
What? Who would
I know, I
you?
know. I shouldn't have given that example. I apologize. But I did flip it. If you listened, I flipped it too. So, but it's true. Like, or I have worked with an organization and now they're kind of like, okay, LaVonna, like this has been awesome, but we're ready for the next step. Awesome. You know who you need to reach out to is Jamie.
Yes.
Like it becomes this whole referral too. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because to me, that's again a scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay if somebody prefers you over me, then go.
Yeah.
Like, yes, go learn from Jamie. Just learn, do something different, be better.
Yeah.
So with that said, then you mentioned the S and the H, really about more so about the passion part, but the part that stood out to me is what you said about passions. I find the same thing with S. So I will ask them, for example, in a keynote, I will put up a slide with a bunch of strengths that pop up, not all of them, but a good chunk of them. And then after a moment of time, not very long, but I will give a moment of time and I'll say, raise your hand if you have at least 5 of them. And very few will raise their hand. And I tell them that that's basically a pink flag. Like I'm throwing a pink flag, because if in that amount of time you could not identify at least 5 of your strengths, you're not looking at your strengths enough. Instead, it's all the of things that you're not good at doing, because that's how we're ingrained to think about in our society is I'm not good at that, but I don't have that, but I should be better. I should be better. I should be better. Like it's this whole mind, I don't know, chaos that happens. And so so both happen. So what I found is that it's having them identify like strengths, for example, and let's say that I do a deeper work with them and not outside of a keynote, then digging into more so sharing with each other, because when people share with each other, they tend to go, oh, I have that strength also. I didn't really think about that. But we have to get rid of the mindset of I have to be perfect at it or I have to be the best. No, it's what you're good at doing. Like you're saying, I am okay with this. I am good with this. And the same thing with the passions. Like I forget passions even that I am interested in and looking for those themes until I hear somebody else say something that I'm like, oh, that's me too. So it's this whole learning process, but we do an activity when we do deeper work of putting shine into the culture, where it's a Venn diagram. So for those of you that don't know, if you take a circle and you overlap part of a circle, there's that little middle. So we have them put like what are all your strengths, gifts, skills, and talents. And for us, it's not necessarily the strengths finder at all. Like that's not where we pull it from. It can be, but we look at like humor, for example, that you embed in, or you're a whatever, like what if we try this or what if we try that? So we look at things a little bit different. And then heart, it goes on the other circle. So it's outside of the overlap at this point. So what are your passions? But then in the center, we call it the shine spot, is where you are taking the overlap of what are your strengths and your passions. And once you start to look for those themes, you're a detective for yourself. Now you can say, okay, what careers might fit that? And
Mhm.
it allows that to think at from a different lens instead of, but if I go, like we hear that women, especially if they go for a job, someone was just telling me recently, it was higher than I thought, but it's over 90% of women have to or let me rephrase it. Women have to have met over 90% of the criteria to go for a job to even think they're qualified, where men, it's something like 30%. They
Mhm.
see it and they're like, I can do 30% of this. I'm going for the job.
Mhm.
We tend to approach it a little bit different. And don't quote me on those stats because I need to relook this up. But somebody said it and I was like
I've heard
totally
that.
different than I
Yeah.
thought.
But it is a drastic difference. The point there is
Yep.
it's very
Yep.
direct.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's
Exactly.
Love that. So when we started off, you had said that you've got some big, like not big goals, but some things of where you want this to go. Like, what would be one of your things that you're like, hey, this is the next piece for me. This is what this is where I want to shine next. What does that look like for you?
So, a couple things. One, we started the Firefly Effect Award. And so we highlight somebody in our community who emanates the firefly effect. And that's terminology that I've created based upon our logo is a firefly. And there's multiple reasons. I'll highlight them quickly for you. But fireflies, when they sing, is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Take it down.
okay. So when fireflies synchronize their lights, they go from a 3% chance of survival to an 82% chance of survival. So a very drastic difference in survival rate when they synchronize. So I heard that, and I also heard that when they synchronize, they can actually be seen for miles, which attracts more fireflies. That's
Oh.
why last year we changed our logo because
Oh, I guess I can't use a tick for my logo. Scrap that.
well, it's it was just what I saw for this is that everybody brings their own shine. Everybody brings their own skills and strengths and all of the uniqueness about them to the table, which is super valuable and great. You light up on your own, but when you come into an organization and you synchronize together your lights, and I know, for example, I can turn to you, Stan, because you are stellar at this. I'm not. Jamie is awesome at that. I'm not. Great, because when we come together, we're synchronizing and we're really creating this collective effort. And so when I heard all of this, I was like, this has to be shine. It is about unifying our lights and creating synchronicity together so that we can make an impact and make a difference, which then led to me calling it the firefly effect and saying, okay, what if we did an award? So we got to a few weeks ago, do the very first one, and it was a woman who was involved in a lot of things in our community. But one of the things that she helped co-found was 100 Women Who Care
Oh yeah.
and here in St. Pete. And so I was asked to give a talk that night, the last meeting they had, they do it quarterly. And it hit me that, wait a minute, I've been wanting to honor her. We've been wanting to do this. Why not do it that night? And so I got to explain what Shine was to these women who really have so much heart in giving back to nonprofits, to then go into the Firefly Effect briefly and say, and as a matter of fact, our first honoree is here tonight, and to give it to her. So that was, I want to do more of that as my point, just really, and it doesn't have to be only local, but just really recognizing women who are making differences in
Do you
traction.
know she's being recognized that evening?
She did not. She was
Ah,
like, she was videotaping, and all of a
That's
sudden she was like,
devastating. Woo!
yes. She's like, I'm used to giving out the awards and I don't know what to do when I get them. It's like,
That's normal though, right? Like a lot of people don't know how to take a compliment. Like I learned
Oh,
a long
sure.
time ago, like people don't know how to take a compliment. So really what you should just say is say thank you. But it's
yes,
hard,
yes,
Yeah, like it's hard. Yeah.
yes.
Big,
I
big
just did a reel on that. Oh, sorry, Sam, go ahead.
I'm saying even what you're doing is probably universal rather than located in the States. But the big picture is people don't do any introspection with themselves. In general, we're all extremely powerful. It's like in a keto philosophy, they're saying you're born with your powers locked up like in a treasure chest. You just don't know where the key is. And
Ooh,
they don't realize they have an innate power to accomplish virtually anything, but no one's helping them, no one's guiding them to that particular point. And they go through life pretty much not living. It's just it's living on the surface, eating, drinking, going out socially, and there's nothing beyond that. It's unfortunate for all of us. There's potential not being tapped.
But what's funny is that so we started this podcast because my whole thing was I used to listen to all these different podcasts of celebrities and hear about these celebrity stories, right? And like they all have crazy stories. I mean, like wild stories that they lived in their car. I mean, it's like Jim Carrey, I think he was homeless, then he wrote himself a check for $1 million, like all these like wild stories. And I was like, you know what? There are people that are just walking around us all the time that have incredible stories. Why are we not capturing that? Like, and by saying, when I say incredible stories, it's because they're still living, they're here, they've gone through whatever it is they've gone through. Like, we don't know what it is. And so tapping into that is that, when you give someone a compliment, when you think about that, like I've asked people who I've just, I've seen them post something that I'm like, oh, that's interesting, or I know them, and I'm like, I'd love to have you as a guest on the podcast. Well, why? I'm not interesting. Why? I've done nothing great, or why? Because they don't see the own potential in themselves. They don't know how they can shine because no one like you has taught them to find that self, to figure out that heart, how to, inspire that and ignite that within themselves. Like, and that breaks my heart. So again, going back to like, I just wrote myself a note today I'm going to send your name actually to a few organizations I've worked with that I just think they need, because that's the thing is that the more people hear this message,
yes.
the better we can all be. And I've got an idea that I want to share with you about something that's coming up too. So we've got so much to talk about. So much, I'm like, all these ideas. I'm like, but I just think it's like, I love that. And I love that you have that, the firefly. I love, not only that, it's just not like and like a nothing award. There's a meaning behind that award and
Yes.
fireflies. And I just love how you've connected that. So that's incredible. So you're going to be doing that. What else is coming down the pipe for you?
Yes. So I have, we get the request. Yes, I do the keynoting and I can do the deeper work and go in sometimes and do that. But we know that people have been asking, like, what's more beyond this? Like, okay, so how do we implement Shine? How do we, take what it is and actually grow with it? So we did a leadership guide recently that's very simple, but it's a leader can do it, reflect on their own. They can do it with their leadership team, or they could do it full staff. And so I was sharing with a friend that I want to build this out. Well, she's a psychologist, and she said, LaVonna, do you understand the amount of research embedded in what you do? Like, it is so research solid, and that you aren't providing this for anybody. And I was like, I know, because I'm trying to do all the other things in the business and to build all of that. And she goes, hello, that's what I do. Like, she actually, that is her forte, is building these kind of, like, I call it a product, but it's more of like, assessments and indexes and activities. And so she has done a lot of working with organizations, but also even Harvard, in creating something that is truly measurable and it's valid and reliable by those standards. So we are getting together next month to start that process. So I'll be held accountable by saying it on here. but
Go.
but that, just it is, once Shine leaves, we walk out the door, what else is there? And to keep this going. And we definitely want to support that, because I don't want this to be, I show up and I walk out, or Lisa, the other speaker, shows up, walks out, and we're done. That's
You want
not
it to be sticky. You want that sticky factor.
yeah. Yeah.
I
So
love
we'll see. There's other ideas too. I like a book. I'm an author of 8 books, but they're all geared toward education and neuroscience and cognitive science of how the brain learns. Where I want this to be, one might be my memoir. We'll see. But
She looks great.
Don't forget you're still alive.
Yeah.
You can write a memoir and still be alive.
Is this a videotape?
Seriously? Oh,
yeah, not a biography that somebody else wrote about me, but more of a, yes,
yeah.
the memoir. And my husband and I have been playing. We already have the title in a rough draft of a children's book, but it'd be geared more towards from the age of 5 to 95 years old. So there's life lessons in it for everyone, no matter what.
I can read that
Well,
then.
yeah, you can read it.
I'm under
You
95.
got a reading age, but
You
we need
are
so many things we need to talk about. So
good.
you
Love
said
it.
your husband, so you are remarried. So
Yes.
how we'll kind of go there and then we'll wrap up. But how did you meet your current husband?
Yes, so he is also, it was in the education system as well. And fast forward, he is now retired. Lucky him. So there's that, what we try to balance there. But yeah, he is retired elementary principal, and now he consults and coaches for other companies and administrators, I should say, and has the ability to take all that he has learned and do that. And aside from that, he runs, he golfs, he watches the news, he does reads all the things.
We could use him. I don't want to get well.
Don't go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
No.
Just turn on the news today. This is gonna be months later, so people will know what I'm talking about.
How long is your average keynote speech?
I prefer 90 minutes. I ask for 90 because interactive, engaging. We do specific activities that are really lesson driven. And I tell very powerful stories, and so when I have less time, I can do it, and I do it, but I have to pull some of most powerful things out for that
What's
revenue.
your ideal size group?
Anyone that will listen.
The more the merrier. Yes. I would definitely say
He's outside of Home Depot.
yes.
TNA. Let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you. Like it's like
Yes. Anyone who will listen for sure. But I find I really thrive, which is so bizarre for me to say this. I really thrive the larger the audience.
Yeah.
I really do.
I've always been a proponent of you educate through entertainment. If you can entertain them, if you can captivate them, they will listen. And the key is what response you're getting from the people in the audience, the interacting. They're just sitting like a bunch of falling asleep.
Yeah. It's funny. So we were connected originally through a group called the National Speakers Association. We are both part of the Central Florida chapter. And I was just at a meeting last Saturday, and we were talking about, speakers. And it's so funny, like when you're in a group of speakers, like everybody wants to help everybody. It's like, well, let me help you, because that's just like where you get. And so it's like, does the conversation ever really happen? Everyone's like, yes, yeah. I mean, it's like literally the yes and concept happens when you're speaking in a group of empowerment speakers, of leadership coaches, of sales, whatever it is. And that's how we originally connected. But, and that's the thing is that, listen, life is short and you have a choice every day of, what you want to choose for your day, where you want to go. And I love that you are helping people figure that out in a shorter amount of time to help them shine. Because the reality is, like, you could, I started off my TEDx talk with a primal scream because I feel like every morning you wake up and you look at the news, no matter what it is, and I'm not just talking politics, I'm talking in general, and you just want to scream at the top of your lungs, like, what is happening? And it's when like we said in the beginning, if you show up differently, you take a step back, you calm down, you think about, well, what is my real purpose? Like, what do I really want to get out of today? What do I want to give today? That it changes your bubble or it changes your influence that you have, and it makes a big difference. And you're helping people do that. And
Out of curiosity, what has your daughter gotten into? She's 25 now, you say?
Yes, she's a realtor.
Huh?
And so she works for a new build, the homes.
No background, yeah, baby.
We did that for a long time. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and she's crushing it right now. Like I couldn't be more proud of her because she was, one thing we didn't talk about is what you asked me is it wasn't only about me, it wasn't only about students that I encountered, but it was my own daughter and her story. She went through a very similar path with me academically. And I had to work with her on her own shine, in that belief and going against what she was hearing at school and feeling at school. So yes, it's having to live and the breathe it, which has been, but it's great because I'm a testament. She's a testament to what shine can actually do. So I appreciate that. Jamie, by the way, if anyone has not listened to your TEDx, they should, because I watched it and I am all about starting different. And the fact that you came out with the primal scream, like you're back with everybody. And I was like, what is happening? And then I was like, yes.
Of course.
It was my dad's idea, I think. It's funny. Someone asked me, was that really you screaming? I said, yes, they had to turn the microphone off because they didn't want it to be too loud. And I was the last speaker to go. Because if you've done a TEDx, you know that, so they do it in an order, you're all there. And then the last, like they're all different order. I was the last speaker to go. So they had just listened to all the speakers go. And I was the closing one. So I'm like, and it's a long time. I'm listening to speaker after speaker. Like the audience is like, even though the speakers are incredible, you're still fatigued.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so I did it, and I didn't know it was the last one, but thank you. I appreciate that. It was super fun. It's funny that we're both mothers of only, well, I know you got your two bonus kids, but mothers of only children that were daughters. And everything I do is for mine. Like it's to create this legacy, to create this path that she can feel like she can do anything. So I feel you. And I love that she
just got her black belt at 9 years old.
She did. She's a black belt. And when I was 25, I was in new home sales. Incredible. So here's my advice to your daughter.
Yes.
Save.
Save.
Save the money.
Save. Yes.
Save the money.
Yes. Well, when I say I'm very proud of her, she had only been doing this about a year and a half when she bought her own 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, brand new. And I had said to her, I said, what happens if the market drops tomorrow? Before you make this decision, like what? And she told me everything she had thought through in place and monetarily what she'd already saved, that I went, what? Like,
yeah,
so stinking proud of her because, the market did slow and now she's back, but it's starting to slow again, so.
And that's
you're right. Save.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about nurture versus nature. I think that's a combination of both, but that is your influence. It sounds like you have a DNA track of very strong women who are going to do what it takes to get things done. And now you've passed that to her, and that's incredible. And now you're able to take it away from DNA and pass it into just like actual words that you use to help others. So I am so grateful that we are connected, that we have met. When I get back from my trip, we'll talk offline. We don't tell people, even though it's after the fact, but I'll talk with you offline. And we'll connect, we'll make it happen. And I am just so grateful that you took the time to talk with us today. Thank you.
New business, glow. Get learning over with. I'm in.
Stan, I have a feeling you never stop thinking. I love it. You're my people. You're my people. My husband always says, does your brain ever turn off? I'm like, well, we already know the answer. No, thankfully.
Drugs are kicking in.
Like the drugs are kicking in. Yeah. That's nice. This is an X-rated show.
Yes.
I can do that now.
It's like, no. But let me say back to you, thank you both, because I've loved this conversation, and I just appreciate I appreciate honesty and transparency, because I feel like we don't do enough of vulnerability to learn from each other and to realize that we're not alone in things. So you provide that opportunity, but not just with me, but with so many others. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
LaVonna, what's your number now?
I know. I didn't know if you asked that or not, but I was thinking if they asked that again, I feel like I'm 9.5 right now, because it's just, yes, success. Yes, it's like-minded and talking and pooling and learning, and yes.
You got to have fun. Just the fun factor is huge.
And that doesn't happen enough, right? Like we're emailing so much, we're texting so much, we're WhatsApping, we're chatting.
We are?
Well, not you. We talk. Oh God, you just ignore my texts. No, he doesn't. But we don't do like this enough, right? And we're doing it virtually, but it's just, we need to get back to talking to people, because it's as awesome as it is right here. So thank you. We appreciate you.
And play some pickleball this week, okay?
I'll wave to you in the sky.
I have yet. Okay, yes, because we might be passing. Mine's at 10:15, so we'll be passing.
There you go. I appreciate you.
Great morning. Great podcast. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all you two do.
All right. Bye, LaVonna.
Bye.
Oh my goodness. So cool. Let's see if we do this. Here we go. Wow. Right? I mean,
she found her path. People just don't know their own strengths. They wander about. They have a power inside. They're either hesitant to approach, don't know how to get there. We're going to talk about that later on.
Well, and I just think that you're right. And I think this is such a fabulous moment to say, you look at her now, right? If you looked at her now, because listen, branding's everything. She's amazing. Like you look at it and you're like, wow, she really has it all together. And that's why when we went back, we talked about the fact that she was like a D and an F student and had to navigate that. I think that it's just so incredible that there's not like one path for everybody. There's not like one way you have to go. People always talk, you got to go to college. No, you don't. Sorry, you don't. You don't have to,
People don't appreciate the gift they've been. Everybody is so special. If you look about biologically, it takes one egg to have a baby. But how many sperm to fertilize? Only one. 1 out of 1 million sperm. That one person is you. So you've been selected out of 1 million people. You're 1 in 1 million. You need to feel like that, and people don't feel like that. I don't have this. I want that. The power you have, no matter what your station in life is, you can be awesome.
Yeah.
And we will teach them how to access a small piece of that.
When are we doing that?
When you stand on my stomach.
Oh my God, that sounds just weird. So there's a whole thing. We'll get to it someday. Whatever.
You remind me of a man.
Oh, no, we're doing that. Did you want to talk about blowing smoke up your chicken's ass or whatever?
We can talk. Well, yeah, we're talking about etymology, about the origin of sayings. Years ago, when people were dying of heart attacks, you can Google this stuff. They didn't know how to revive people. And inadvertently, someone like leaned on someone and the pressure kind of brought them back from a heart attack. So they tried different techniques, like doing compressions on their chest. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Doing the mouth to mouth, sometimes the mouth to mouth didn't work. But at that time, tobacco is a very strong stimulant. And around the anal cavity, you have a lot of many nerve networks, make it very sensitive. And someone thought, if we can take some smoke and blow it up someone's anus, the stimulation that the tobacco would give may regenerate them back into life. And they actually tried on a couple of patients. People had heart attacks. They would try the compression. They would try the breathe. It didn't work. They would roll them over, put like a funnel in the rectum and blow some smoke up there. And eventually, unfortunately, it didn't work. And over the years, it's come to be when someone's giving you a hard time, you say, stop blowing smoke, because it ain't going to work. And that's the origin.
I like that.
If you have something out that you've heard about, or you Google something, please email us, text us, blow some smoke at us, and we'll talk about it next time.
Well, Dad, that was a great conversation. Super enjoyable. LaVonna, thank you again. Thank you, listeners, for being here. We have got...
and we're not blowing smoke. This is real stuff.
We're not. I got to go pack for a trip. So anyway, we love you all for listening.
See you next time, kids. Don't be a stranger.
Love you. Bye.
Hey, thank you for tuning into today's What's Your Story podcast.
To learn more or share your story, go to jamiemarco.com. That's www.jamiemarco.com. And we will see you next time.